This is the conditionals and loops activity in Python. I have the project open in Visual Studio Code along with the README file. Let's look at what we're going to do today. So given some problem statements, which I will have expressed in tests, we want to implement solutions using each of the conditional or loop constructs that are available in our programming language. So in Python, we do have the typical if-else blocks. We do have a form of a ternary operator, and there is a form of switch case. It's actually called match case. It works a little bit different than switch case in other languages, but in some ways it's a little more powerful than other languages as well. We also have some loops. We have for loops, we have while loops. So there are a few different loops that we have available. Each language may vary in terms of what it offers and the kinds of loops available. Starting with objective 1, we're going to implement PersonName, and we're going to implement the string functionality of PersonName. So a PersonName, think of a PersonName as a class that has all the different parts of a name, so first, middle, last, prefix, and suffix. And the PersonName then allows us to format all of those based on which parts do they give us. So if they give us first and last, we'll do just first, last. If they give us prefix, first, and last, we'll do all three of those. Then objective 2, we'll switch down and we'll look into the contact list and we'll find family members. So the family members, we need to do loops. We're going to loop over the contacts and then find out which one of these are family members and return those back out. So that's basically what we have going on here. You'll see there's a requirements file here, so we need to install those. I'm going to use the VENV program to get the environment up and running, so I recommend you might do the same. So I'll do py-m VENV, and then I need to give it a name. I'll call it .venv for the folder. And I'm going to say yes, go ahead and use my virtual environment. Now I'm going to go into that folder, scripts, and activate. So now I'm inside my virtual environment, so now I can install the requirements. So I'll do pip -r requirements.txt. If I remember the syntax, no, pip install -r requirements.txt. There we go. All right, so everything's installed. I should be ready to go. I should be able to run tests here. So let me see what kind of tests we're running. So these are Python tests, or py test, and I can tell because there's not a class, there's not a unit test class, it's just a function for the test. So we will configure this to use Python test, so py test, and it's in the tests folder, so I'll select that, give it a moment. There they are. We'll go ahead and run these. And we get a bunch of failures, which is exactly what I'd expect. So let's take a look and see what's going on in our tests, starting with the person name. So person name tests, we are creating a person name with John Smith. We expect the value to be John Smith. We're getting the string value of it, and then we're comparing it to the actual. The next test, we're doing John Lincoln Smith, and then Mr. John Smith, and so on and so forth. So different variations on the parts of the name that are coming in. So the first one, what we'll notice is that we expected it to be John Smith, but the actual was string of person name, and so there was a problem here. We actually had an exception that was raised where this is not yet implemented. So let's go ahead and look into the person name class. So I'm going to switch over to the personnames.py file, and here it is. So here is our string operator. This is the toString method that's available in other languages. Here it's the dunder name of _string str and then self. So we need to implement this so that we get the test to pass. We'll start off with a simple one, which is just first and last. So all we're going to do is string concatenation, where we add these two values together. So we'll simply say return self.first plus self, actually plus, we're going to add a space, and then we'll add self.last. So just a very simple implementation to do first name plus space plus last name. So let's rerun our test now. And we have the first one passing, so we're in good shape on that one. So let's look at the next one now, where we have to add the middle name. So adding the middle name, we'll go back to our string function, and we can just add another space. And then we'll add, not this, self._middle. All right, now that we have that, let's rerun our tests. All right, the second one's passing, but the first one is not. What's going on? So the first one's not passing because it doesn't have a middle name. There is no middle name on the first one, so we're getting a problem. We're running into a problem here. So here we're going to need to introduce our first, basically our first conditional. There's a few different ways to do this. I'll do this with a simple if. So if self middle is not equal to none, then we'll do this one. Otherwise, we'll do without the middle name. So if there's a middle name, I do need a space. If there's a middle name, we'll do first, middle, last. Otherwise, we do first and last. So let's run these tests now. We have the first two working. So now let's do the third test in here. So the third test is going to include a prefix. So let's add that in. So notice here, we have a prefix. We're gonna need to format that in as a part of these. I could do a couple things. So first off, I wanna make sure this is for first, prefix first last, no middle name. So we're not worried about the middle name on this one. So here we need to definitely check to see if, in addition to middle, is there a prefix. So a few different ways I could do this. I could say elif, which is an else if, self.prefix is not equal to none. And then I could return something here. Or I could do a nested else. And I'm gonna do the nested else, just so you can see what that looks like. So we'll say, inside this, we'll say if self.prefix is not equal to none. Then we'll return self.prefix plus space plus self first, self last. And then we'll have another else where we indent this over. So we have an if middle name, then return middle name. Otherwise, if prefix exists, return it with prefix. Otherwise, return it with first last. So let's run these tests now. The first two are passing, but the third one is not. So the third one is still running into an error. What's happening here? And you'll notice that it is basically saying there's an unsupported operand for the plus sign on person name prefix. What that means is we're adding prefix in, but it's not a string. Prefix, person name prefix, is one of these objects up here. So there are several ways to do this, and I gave you one way to do it built in with the get value method, but I'm going to do it a different way. Again, we're exploring the different conditionals. So what we're going to do here is, and again, there's no right or wrong, so explore different ways. We're going to create a variable that is the prefix string value. And we'll default this to none. From here, we're going to match, and so this is the equivalent of the switch case. This is a match case. So we'll say match on self prefix case person name prefix. So now it's going to help me out. This is looking pretty good. So if it's Mr., then we'll make the prefix string value MR period. If it's Miss, MS period, and so on and so forth down to Sir and Sir period. I'm going to get rid of the default case. We don't need it because we have initialized it to null. That would be a different way to go. Lots of different ways to do this. So we've created a conditional block here that says, okay, format the prefix based on what's happening, based on what the value is inside our prefix. So now down below, I need to use that instead of self prefix. So we'll say prefix string value, and same thing here. Now we're concatenating those together. Let's run our test again. And we've made progress. So we now have 3 passing tests. What's left, looking at the test, is we need suffix. Now suffix is likely going to work very similar to prefix, so you could do the same kind of thing, another match case if you wanted to, with the suffix values instead of the prefix values. So you'd create a new variable for suffix string value, and then again, do some nested checking on your if logic, and then finally just make sure that all the rest of these work. So I'll let you finish the rest of that. We're going to switch gears now and head to the contact tests. So now we're going into contact family members. Let's take a look at what these are doing. We're creating lists of contacts, and these contacts are going to have a contact type. So child, spouse, let's actually change one of these to parent, just so that we have a different one. So child, parent, spouse. And then we're saying find the family members. Our expected ones in the first case are all 3 because they're all family members. The next one, we're creating child, and again, let's change that so we use all of them. Child, parent, spouse, friend, acquaintance, and referral. We expect it to be the first 3. So we're going to ignore the last 3. The next one, these are no family members. So the expected list is empty. And then finally, the last one is no members at all, no contacts at all. We also expect it to be empty. So looking at the test here, let's figure out why it's failing. We are getting an exception in find family members. So that's obviously not good. So let's go ahead and head into the contacts file. And we'll notice inside find family members, here's our exception. So we definitely need to get rid of this. What do we need to do here? Effectively, there's a few different ways to do this. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. But the way I'm going to show you is simply we'll create a list that is the family members. We'll populate that list, and then we'll return that list. So we'll start off family members equals a new list. We're going to populate. We'll come back to that, and then we simply return the family members. So now we need to populate that list. So this is a list. Contact list derives from list, which means we can simply iterate over ourselves. So we can say for contact in self, so a typical for loop, for each loop. Now what we can do is a few different things. What we want to do is check the contact type. So looking at a contact, we'll notice it has an underscore contact type. So we could say if contact underscore contact type, and I'm not going to do an in, we'll just simply say equals contact type dot, and let's just do spouse for a moment. Then we'll say family members append contact. So very simple implementation. For each one of these, if it's a spouse, we'll add it to the family members and then return the final result. So let's get back to our tests. Let's rerun the contact tests. Well, notice the last two are passing, and these are because these are supposed to be empty. So it is doing the empty ones, but it's not exactly giving us the correct ones here. And that's because we're not adding all of the right values. We're only adding in the spouse. So we need to also add parent. We also need to add child. So I'll do one more of these, and I'll leave it to you to finish off the rest of it. There's a couple of ways we can do this. The first is we can OR this together. So we can say if it's a spouse or if it's a parent. So let me show you what that one looks like. It's the word OR in Python. And then again, we'll just say if it equals parent. So here's what that OR looks like. So if contact type is spouse or if contact type is parent, append. So that's one way to do this. The only problem with that is the line gets really, really long. So now you have to scroll to see all of it. So I'm going to show you a different way to do this, which is we'll just do another if. If the contact type is the parent, then we'll simply append that there. So this has some performance implications, but it's a little easier to read in terms of reading down what's happening. Run it again. It's still not passing, but we made progress. So the last one is child. So go ahead and add child. You would do it either as an OR on one of these or another if. I could also turn this into an elif. That would work as well. The logic makes sense that way as well. So lots of different ways to do this exercise, but go ahead and play through those. Let's head back to the README. One more thing. Objective 3, once you get them to work, Objective 3 says vary your implementation. So if you used if statements, try a match case or try a ternary. If you used a match case statement, try an if block or use a ternary. So see if you can vary those. Similar on the find family members in our contacts, we used a for loop. Maybe try a while loop or try a different way to do this. So explore some of these different conditional and loop options. The more you experiment with them, the better you're going to understand them and the better you're going to be able to apply your judgment in which one to use.